Looking for your next getaway? Come experience Laurel, the city beautiful. From amazing local restaurants and unique shops to historic charm and fun attractions, Laurel has something for everyone. Plan your visit today at laurelms.com and discover why Laurel is worth the trip.
Buying Dirt is presented by 601 Sports, Bruce Gray Lampro, Casco Cleaning Solutions, Chase Buckles Mortgage Advisor, Culbertson Cattle Company, Culbertson Concrete Pumping Service, Kirk Douglas Heating and Cooling, Levi Patton Farm Bureau, Southern Ag Credit, Southwest Mississippi NDA Branch, Southwest Mississippi Wildlife Expo, and United Country McDaniel Gray Realty.
Buy dirt, find the one you can't live without.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Buying Dirt. Keith, how are you this morning, man?
I'm good.
I'll ask you that every week, but
just a little bit aggravated.
Aggravated at me?
Yeah.
For what?
Drug me back into turkey hunting. I'm beginning to realize now just why I quit hunting originally.
It's exciting, man.
They're just too dang smart for me.
I'll tell you what, it's something about it that's it's fun. I recently, just this week, I applied for a turkey hunt for different WMAs, and I was awarded one at Cane Mount, which is over near Port Gibson. And I've been fortunate enough to deer hunt, but I've never turkey hunted over there. So I spent the last 3 days getting up at 4 in the morning, driving over there. And 3 days I heard one bird gobble. One.
That's it.
Never saw a bird, but I heard one. And, you know, and of course, Monday mornings when we had that snow. Remember that? I'm driving over there. The day before was 80 degrees, you know. I'm driving over there at 4 in the morning, and I'm like, is that snow falling on me? You know, it's just like, goodness gracious. And that may have had some reason why they weren't gobbling that well. But anyway, cold. It was cold, but
You and I went opening day.
And we heard one gobble 3 times, and that's it. That's it. I mean, he just flew down, I guess, and he shut up after that. That's turkey hunting, isn't it? That's just that's the definition of it, really. You know, but that's okay. It's still season's early. It's still early. We still have time, Keith.
I'm gonna get him. You don't know he's lit a fire under me. I'm going after him.
We're gonna keep going. We're gonna
I have to bushwhack him, but
yeah, look, we're gonna turkey hunting. It doesn't matter how you kill it. You know, as long as we got to do it legally. But you know what I mean. You ain't got to call it up. If you can get in front of it, that's not. That's a lot of the solution. Just knowing where they're going to go.
That's right.
Try to get in front of them. All right. On to our topic. We have Tristan Peavey with us. Tristan, how are you today?
Man, I am doing great, Bruce.
Well,
how about
Tristan.
you?
Yep. Tristan is the county extension agent here in Lincoln County.
That's right.
And he is a wealth of knowledge. I will tell you, if you want information about gardening, timber, you name it, Tristan, you probably dabbled in a bunch of stuff over the years.
We fortunately and unfortunately, we have to wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes people ask me, well, are you a forester or are you this? And I say, no, I just play one on TV. But we have to know a little bit about a lot.
That's right.
That's one of the best and worst things about the job.
That's right. So I wanted to have Tristan on to talk about prescribed fires. And we've talked about this topic before. But this time of year is a good time to really start talking about that.
Oh, it's the best time. I wish we could have talked about it a month and a half ago.
I agree. We're a little bit late, but we kind of got tied up with our schedules and couldn't get together. But Tristan, if you will, just start out by telling us what is a prescribed fire, because there may be people listening that really don't know what that means.
Yeah, so it's important to know what prescribed fire is and what prescribed fire isn't. Prescribed fire, you'll hear it called a controlled burn. It's exactly that. It is an intentional fire lit on the landscape where you are controlling it. You set the parameters of which you're going to burn in and burn it in the way you want to burn it. And there's a lot of benefits about that. Fuel reduction is a big one, vegetation control, wildlife habitat improvement, site prep, ecosystem restoration. I mean, there's a lot of categories that a burn can fall under, but you are burning with a specific objective. You're not just going around and throwing a match on the ground and saying, oh, we're just going to see what the heck happens.
And you're looking for the right conditions to do that as well.
Huge part of it. That's a huge part of it.
Right. And so there's this little thing called prescribed fire what's it called? Where you go take this class?
Yeah, so what you take a prescribed fire course offered
it,
through
yeah.
Mississippi Forestry Commission to become a certified burn manager.
Right.
I'm a certified burn manager, and you do not have to be a certified burn manager to burn in the state of Mississippi.
And that's important to note. Mississippi is a state which allows you to burn your property.
Right.
I
We
mean,
have an established right to burn by the legislature.
Right.
But being a certified burn manager, one, puts you through a course where people that know a whole heck of a lot more about it than you do.
That's right.
Teach you about it. They offer a 1-day course and a 3-day course. The 3-day course is a huge wealth of knowledge. But the 1-day course covers a lot. It's like drinking through a fire hose sometimes.
That's right.
But there has never been a certified burn manager that had a burn plan notarized and a burn permit that has ever lost a legal case in the state of Mississippi.
Right.
That's the important thing about it.
And that's a good reason why you go become a certified burn manager, is because it limits the liability.
Right. You know, when I go out and do a burn, I come up with a burn plan sometimes weeks and months ahead and have it notarized by a notary that says I took the time and thought in to make this plan.
Right.
I know what humidity I want. I know what the wind speed I want, the wind direction I want. And if it's not fitting in those parameters, I'm not going to burn it.
That's right. And of course, the day that you want to burn, you have to call that earlier that morning and get a permit,
so
right?
you get a permit. You actually don't call anymore. Now they've got an online portal. It's a whole heck of a lot easier. The line
good.
isn't busy when you go in. You just Google MFC burn permit, and it'll pop up. You put in the latitude and longitude of where you're burning, what conditions you desire in it, and contact information, and mark whether you're a certified burn manager or not. And it spits out, it'll send you an email usually in about 90 seconds if you get the permit or not, and says, hey, you're good to go from this hour to this hour.
That's right. And that's important. There is a parameter in time. They don't really want you burning after dark. So you want you to finish up sometime.
Right. You can apply for a night permit.
Right.
But for most people, I wouldn't start your first fire on a nighttime burn, and I wouldn't, and we'll get into it in a little bit, but I wouldn't start your first fire as a growing season burn either. Yeah, true, yeah. Which is later in the year. We talk about growing. There's two types of fires: a dormant season, which is typically this time of year, early. It's for spring green up, and then your growing season burn is typically June, July, August, maybe even September. Right. And before we get into that, one caveat I do want to put out is, when we're talking about safety and legal considerations when we're burning, it's not as much the fire getting out that we're worried about, it's smoke management.
Yeah, that's something I've learned over the years. And I took that same course last year. So that's what I remember most about that course. Everybody thinks the flame is the problem.
No.
It's not. It's the smoke.
It's that
smoke. And you as a burn manager, you're responsible for that smoke.
You are. If I'm burning next to Highway Interstate 55, I'm not going to, and I'm on the east side of the interstate, I'm not going to blow with the wind out of the east to where I'm going to smoke out the interstate, cause a 16-car pile up, and
that's right.
12 people die, and I have the legal liability for it. And if you're a certified burn manager, you're not going to file a permit to burn that day if you know those are the conditions.
That's right. You're going to look for conditions where the wind is blowing elsewhere. You also have to be in consideration about what's around you in terms of neighborhoods, churches,
schools, daycares, assisted livings, and nursing homes. And a big one I tell people to look out for in Southwest Mississippi is chicken houses.
Chicken houses is a big one.
Don't suck that smoke up into a chicken house.
Yeah, the smoke will devastate a chicken.
Yeah, and then you are on the hook for a lot of chicken strips.
That's right. So if you're going to burn anywhere near, I'd say within a few miles of, and actually I think it's 3 to 5 miles. Mm-hmm. You might want to burn on a different day. If the wind's blowing in that direction, there's no might. You need to burn on a different day.
Right.
So there's a lot of things to take in consideration, but a prescribed fire is a great tool. Is that right?
I mean, like I said, when it comes to fuel reduction, vegetation control, habitat improvement, site prep, cleaning up your place, I mean, there's a lot of benefit to it. And we touched on dormant season burns or growing season burns. I mean, when you're burning, you have an objective of what you're going out there to do. Like I said, we're not just throwing a match and said, let's see what the heck happens. And different outcomes are going to come out of a dormant season burn versus a growing season burn. A dormant season burn, Fuel reduction is your biggest one when you've got 6 inches deep of pine straw in a pine stand, and you're going to get some control of some of your woody species that we're trying to get rid of a lot of times, but not always going to get near as good control as if we were going to do a growing season burn.
Right, and Tristan is right. If you're going to do it, if you want to get ahead of these growing stems like sweet gum.
Sweet gum's the big one.
Yeah, the big one. And we know sweet gum they sprout up in your flower pot if you don't pull the weeds out.
Right.
I mean, seriously, they'll come up anywhere.
On the road.
Yeah, that's true. But in the back of your truck, I mean, they'll come up anywhere. But the truth is, you can do a growing season burn, and it knocks those species back.
Much more
better.
so. Especially when it comes to sweet gum, that's one of the biggest ones. You can get a decent kill on privet a lot of times doing a dormant season burn because that privet holds its leaves, usually almost year round, if not
That's right.
Year round.
All right, so over the years in real estate, I mean, it used to be when you bought a piece of land and it had, let's say it's 40 acres and had 20-year-old plantation pine, that used to mean it was worth some money.
Right.
And it still is. I'm not saying it's not, but it's not worth as much as it used to be in terms of timber value.
And good luck getting a logger out to come cut 40 acres.
That's right. But what's happened, what's transitioned over the years is the recreational value. And that can mean different things, right, Keith, when we talk about recreational. I mean, it could be where someone's not really interested in hunting, but maybe they just want to ride ATVs or just have a walking trail.
Have a quiet place, or people out of South Louisiana looking for hurricane retreats.
That's right. Or maybe looking for a spot to go fishing. They want to build a pond or a small lake on it, something like that. But the other definition of recreational value is hunting. It's hunting whitetail deer, small game, as well as turkeys. And prescribed fire is very beneficial for those types of properties. And in some cases, it actually makes it more valuable. So tell us the benefits of prescribed fire when it comes to wildlife.
Three key species are what I think of when we come to prescribed fire. Now, it benefits hundreds of species, whether it be plants, animals, insects, birds, you name it. But the two birds I think of are quail and turkey, and I'm a big quail nut. I love talking about quail, and then whitetail deer. With deer, you are decreasing stem density, so you're able to get more sunlight to the ground. Now, you're not going in there and killing pine trees, but you're able to get rid of a lot of that sweet gum, yaupon, things like that are keeping that sunlight from getting to the ground and increasing herbaceous weed growth that those deer love to eat. You're creating fawning habitat. And this kind of rolls into turkey. There's you go and talk to the guys at the MSU Deer Lab. They'll talk about the basketball trick. Y'all ever heard of that?
Yes, we have. We've actually sat through a couple of conferences, and that's referring to when you take a basketball and toss it out into your land.
Yeah.
And if you can see it, it's not.
That's about the size of a fawn deer curled up in a hole or a turkey nest sitting there. And if you can see it, guess what else can see it?
That's right.
A bobcat coming by, a fox, coyote, all that good stuff can see it just as well as you can. So that what you're doing is getting more sunlight to that ground. That way you are getting that growth to make it thicker. It might not be thick, but up to your waist.
That's right.
But you're still able to produce so much more food for it. For turkeys, brood rearing habitat, more food for turkeys, more insects. Go look and see how many insects come back 4 weeks after a burn from all that growth coming up. It is amazing how much food there is.
And it's been in my experience, a lot of people associate fire with being bad, because after you burn, it changes the landscape. It looks very different. I mean, you get it's open, but like you said, 4 months from that point, it looks much different, doesn't it?
Well, and you said that, somebody that loves prescribed burning will say Smokey the Bear was the worst thing to ever happen to people's perception of fire, because forest fires that are uncontrolled are bad. They can
absolutely.
be devastating.
Absolutely.
But we're not. Those are uncontrolled fires that were lit by accident, or somebody that didn't know what they were doing let something go out. These are controlled burns that we have an objective, and the more frequently we burn, the less chance we have of these huge fires getting out, because we're reducing that fuel on the ground and keeping it to where when lightning strikes or somebody throws a cigarette butt out or a campfire gets out, it's not able to sit there and spread like crazy.
Earlier you mentioned quail, and if I understand correctly, if you want to manage your property for quail, you actually have to burn more often. Is that correct?
Yeah, for almost all instances, I could think of at least on a 3-year rotation. Now, you're not burning the same thing. I would say you're burning every year if you can, but you're burning different spots. I've heard it put from some quail biologists that, and this is the same for deer and turkey. I mean, habitat diversity is something that most species love. Deer are edge creatures.
Right.
You're going to kill them on that edge between the hardwoods and the pine where they're rolling on it. Well, imagine if you could create hundreds of edges on your property. If you can burn in as small of a patchwork as possible. Now, that's not always feasible for everybody, but they'll say, well, if I could just burn 1,000 1-by-1 squares is better than burning 1,000 square foot area. Now, that's not always practical, of course.
Right.
But the more you can break up that burn schedule and have diversity of habitat and these edges that animals are able to have escape cover to get into, have brood rearing habitat, have foraging habitat available.
I know in our line of work, Keith, we see a lot of people who buy recreational property. And the first thing we think, I know back when I first got in real estate, I'm thinking at least 100 acres, if not more, thousands of acres, right? It was even better. But most people don't own 1,000 acres. They own 100 acres or less. In some cases, 20, 15, 40, 60.
I've had people looking at a 12-acre piece of property, and they say, hey, we want to hunt on it. I said, really? When I first got into real estate, I thought,
But
more
I mean,
than that,
but it makes sense. That's what people can afford.
Yeah.
And here's the beauty of using prescribed fire, like Tristan just said, is you don't have to burn all of it. If you own, say, 30 acres, well, maybe you burn 5-acre spots or 2-acre spots or diversity. You don't want it all burned necessarily, all to be the same type of habitat, right? You want it to be a little bit different.
No,
patchy here and there.
In a perfect world, if I have 30 acres and I'm limited on time and resources, I'm going to burn 10 acres one year, 10 acres on year 2, 10 acres on year 3, and then year 4 I'm going back to that first 10-acre spot I burned. If we're talking about, especially if we're talking about, generally speaking, I'm talking about pine timber here because that's what we have the most of.
And I've been involved on some burns in the past where you get what I refer to as a patchy burn. You know how some of it, you really, as a burn manager, you like to see it all burn, but it doesn't always happen that way.
No.
But actually, that's a good thing. That little patchy burn turns out is some of the best habitat because it's a variety of stuff,
Right.
which is excellent for turkey, quail, and deer, and a variety of small game, rabbits, and that kind of thing. And you'd be surprised at the songbirds that respond to that.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And I mean, think of it from a point of driving down the boulevard. Imagine if everything along that boulevard was just McDonald's. Or instead, now
That's
you've
a good
got.
point,
I mean, think about it. You can sit there in one spot, and now they've got, McDonald's, Wendy's, KFC. I mean, all these different options to choose from. Your house is there, the grocery store is there. Everything you need is within that immediate area. Well, the same thing goes for wildlife.
That's a good analogy. I like that. All right. Let's say someone is listening to this and they're interested. Maybe they own property, but they've never done this before. They've never used prescribed fire. And honestly, they don't even know who to talk to. What are their options?
They should contact a registered forester because they are very experienced in fire. While they might not burn themselves, I guarantee you they've been on burns and can put you in contact with somebody that does it for hire. Go on social media and look up stuff from like the MSU Deer Lab, Fire University podcast, Turkey University all these different university podcast stuffs that have a ton of information on prescribed fire. Look up when the next prescribed burn manager class is and go sit through and take it.
I highly recommend that.
Highly recommend that. Talk to somebody with Mississippi Forestry Commission, and then find somebody else that's burning and say, hey, I want to come watch it. I've never done it before and want to learn more about it. And I have a hard time thinking they would sit there and tell you no, because
absolutely.
the more hands you have out there,
That's right.
the more eyes you have on it, making sure nothing gets out. And we could sit there and talk about how to conduct a burn and what goes into the day of the burn for an hour-long podcast easily. But ask around, and people are more than willing to. Because if you find somebody that burns, they love it. I love burning. There's there is nothing I would rather be doing in February and March
Yeah, I
than
agree.
with a drip torch in my hand and watching the world burn.
Sounds good. Well, Tristan, thank you, man.
Anytime.
Appreciate you. If you have any questions, can people call your office?
Yeah, absolutely. Call my office, 601-835-3460, or shoot me an email at M as in Mike, T as in Tango, P as in Peter, 161 at msstate.edu.
All right. And if you're interested in buying or selling land, you can call our office at 601-835-2000.
Yeah, we're on fire for it.
There you go, Keith. Look at you. Y'all have a good week. We'll see you next week.